Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session. It is Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. It is 9:06 a.m. This is slotted to go until noon. This is a hybrid meeting. We're in Building 1, Room 280. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel or join by calling 360-252-9020, pin number 1234. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser and Commissioner Gary Edwards joining us via Zoom. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, our clerk of the board Jamie Caldwell, and our PIO Megan Porter. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on our agenda. And the first item is our COVID-19 update.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Interim Director, Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. The update for today, and most of this information is as of May 15th. Otherwise, I will give you an updated date for some of the information as well. Total cases in Thurston County as of May 15th are 49,397 as reported by the state. Unfortunately, the deaths in Thurston County are 417. Our 14-day per 100,000 case rate is at 369.4. To give you some perspective, last week it was 286.9. The week before that is 211.7. So it is trending in a negative direction. I will let Dr. Abdelmalik in a few minutes expand a little bit more about that. Our hospitalization data as of May 15th, we had a total patients hospitalized since February 2020 of 2,304. Current COVID patients are 15 with 2 suspected. Just to give a perspective, last week our COVID patients were 9 with 0 suspected. So that's creeping up a little bit as well. The number of patients on ventilators is 1. But our ICU available capacity is 7 for adults. Acute bed availability capacity is 31 for adults. And then going into our congregate care outbreaks, we've had 201 congregate care outbreaks since March of 2020, and we currently have 15 congregate care outbreaks ongoing. Our vaccination statistics are as of May 14th. Total doses given in Thurston County are 533,925. The percent of people initiating vaccination in Thurston County is 72.6%. The percent of people fully vaccinated is 65.9%. And then the percentage of people initiating vaccination age 16 and older is 82.4%. And then the percentage of people fully vaccinated age 16 and older is 74.9%. The percentage of population initiating vaccine age 5 and older is 76.7%. Percentage of population fully vaccinated age 5 and older is 69.7%. And then the percentage of eligible people receiving boosters is at 58.9%. Some additional items, vaccinations. We're going to have tomorrow, Wednesday, May 18th, we'll have a vaccination clinic at the Olympia Senior Center from 1 to 4. Our Capitol Mall location is still open 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the hours are 11 to 8. And then on Sunday, the hours are 11 to 6. And as always, appointments are encouraged by going to our website, but walk-ins are welcome. Testing, we continue to test today in Rochester at the Roof parking lot, tomorrow at Lacey at 3811 Pacific Avenue, and Thursday in Olympia at the Union Gospel Mission, and then Friday at the Evergreen State College. All testing sites and locations will run from 10 to 1, unless the test sites reach capacity, and then they'll have to close early. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Abdelmalik to provide her portion of the briefing.
Good morning, Commissioners. Our community transmission rates do continue to rise. We are following our hospitalization rates here in Thurston County, as well as our death rates. Nationally, hospitalization rates are up. However, hospitalization rates here have remained steady thus far. However, there are other places in the state where hospitalization rates or where healthcare capacity is more impacted than here. In terms of where we're headed, we are aware. Right now, we have the BA.2 Omicron subvariant as the dominant circulating variant in Washington state, in addition to the BA.2.12.1 variant having a smaller percentage of being responsible for a smaller percentage of positive cases. These are more transmissible variants, but have not yet shown a safety signal. We are watching trends from in variants from around the world. There's BA.4, BA.5 that while not largely present here, have been responsible for spikes in other countries, including looking at South Africa, which has also had an Omicron spike. So we are watching that data closely at this point in time. The CDC, so in terms of thinking about what this means for the general public, the CDC has taken an approach in terms of community levels that takes into account both transmission rates in terms of cases per 100,000 over 7 days, as well as hospitalizations and percentage of hospital beds that are occupied by COVID-19 patients to have an overall community level. And the reason why I bring this up is because I often, a lot of many members of the public have shared with me, should I wear a mask? What protective measures should I do? Should I engage in, with this increased transmission? At this point in time, our new hospitalization rates on the CDC dashboard new hospitalizations over a 7-day period are on the CDC dashboard are less than 10, and there's less than 10% of total of the beds that CDC is counting for Thurston County residents are occupied. Additionally, our transmission rates are fewer than 200 per 100,000 over 7 days. So the reason why I bring this up is with our transmission rates increasing, we may reach that medium risk zone for CDC. And what that means for the general public is that people who are immunocompromised or otherwise at high risk for severe disease should talk to their healthcare providers and strongly consider masking in indoor public spaces. Additionally, folks that are in close contact with people who are immunocompromised and or have high risk of severe disease due to other risk factors, if we reach that medium zone, should consider wearing a mask when around those folks to prevent transmission. We're not there yet, but as Director Hardin shared, our transmission rates are increasing, and it's really important for all of us to think both about our own individual risks of severe disease in making decisions about masking, but also the risk to other people that we may be in close contact with. And with that, I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you so much, Commissioners.
Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
Doctor, maybe I'd ask, when you make reference to wearing a mask, whether you feel you may be able to be a spreader, or if you feel you're susceptible or you think you'll be around susceptible people, just wearing a mask is not going to be sufficient if it's just a cloth or something. Doesn't it have to be a recognized mask that we know does a good job. I mean, even with a beard, for an example, if you have a beard and a mask, it doesn't seem to work. So should there be a clarification anytime you're wearing a mask? If you're really trying to protect somebody, wear a decent mask or certified. I don't know what you want to refer to it, but it should be more than just some cloth covering, shouldn't it?
Thank you so much, Commissioner. You're exactly right. So things that that impact how effective a mask is are number of layers or filtration, as well as fit, which is how closely a mask fits around one's face. So multi-layered cloth masks are better than not wearing a mask, but they're not quite as effective as, say, a surgical mask with more layers, or a surgical mask with a cloth mask on top of it to improve fit. And KN95s or N95s that are available provide additional fit and filtration and protective value. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer? I don't have questions today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to homeless strategies.
Good morning, Commissioners. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. Just a few things for you today. Last week, myself and Ariel Benson from our office and someone whom I will introduce in just a moment, Jessica Olson, who's now in our office, traveled to the Built for Zero learning session. So Built for Zero is the initiative that we've engaged in with Providence's sponsorship to essentially end homelessness for chronically homeless adults in our county. And so we made significant strides in creating strategies that we think will actually be effective and more easily implementable with regards to making our data higher quality and moving towards being able to really understand what is going on in our system in terms of who's entering, how are they entering the homeless crisis response system, and where are they exiting to. So very excited about that. We also concluded the 2-day Regional Housing Council retreat, and that was facilitated by members of the Athena group. And it was the Regional Housing Council members as well as members from the Housing Action Team. So a mix of providers in the homeless crisis response system, jurisdictional staff, as well as elected officials who are members of the Regional Housing Council. And I feel like that was also made significant progress in understanding how to best foster a well-functioning homeless crisis response system and how to curate more affordable housing options in the future. We continue to work closely with the City of Olympia with concerning any encampments that are being targeted for potential cleaning in the next couple of months. We had an excellent meeting yesterday, just coming up with the simple strategies of how to be as trauma-informed and thoughtful and out-of-the-box thinking. So that continues to be an active part of the conversations I'm having. And without further ado, I would love to introduce to you our new staff member. Jessica Olson started this week. Yesterday was her first day. She is acting under the Homeless Crisis Response Program. So that would be myself, Ariel Benson, and Jessica. Jessica comes to us from Family Support Center and also was the 2022 Homeless Hero. So received a Homeless Hero Award this last year. So we're very excited to have Jessica with us. She brings a significant system thinking mind, and we are already cooking on some good ideas of how we can best support the system. So here's Jessica Olson. Uh-oh, we can't hear you. Oh no. Technology ruins the day once again.
Welcome
I hope
aboard,
you
Jessica. Welcome aboard.
I was going to ask if that was the Homeless Hero Award-winning Jessica Olson. And very pleased to hear that it is.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Thurston County.
Welcome, Jessica. Okay, questions, comments, Commissioner Edwards?
Tom, maybe you have
Oh.
rental assistance. Tom, do you have any updates?
Sorry, Thomas.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Just a brief update on rental assistance. I do have some AIS items for you later in next week's agenda. Live Stories, the latest update is they've distributed just over 1.4 million in funds and supported and to 160 households. So we are kind of slowly kind of working through that backlog, although there's still a substantial backlog we're working through. To help us get through that backlog quicker, we have engaged with the Department of Commerce. So Department of Commerce had some extra staff that they offered. And so we will have four staff members from Department of Commerce who will also be working through those backlog cases. So trying to build our capacity in any way we can to get through those kind of backlog of cases. So continuing to push Live Stories to process applications as quickly as possible. And we're working our way through that backlog, but we know it is taking time. So, but we continue to push on that. So that is my update. But happy to answer any questions related to rent assistance.
Okay, questions on this topic? Commissioner Edwards?
No, I don't have questions on the rent assistance program, but maybe just a quick statement with Keely, and maybe she could answer this. As we move ahead, trying to come to a real solution, are we ever going to be able to solve this problem if we continue to accept individuals from all over the country, basically, with no type of residency requirement or some condition, because we are a very welcoming community. And if we don't put something in place, we're just going to have people coming, new people every day. Have you at least considered how that fits into the equation?
Yes, thank you for that question. What was really helpful is attending a national conference this last week and hearing from communities all around the United States dealing with the exact same questions and the exact same issues. So we are not unique in that. The reality is no one has enough permanent supportive housing, permanent housing, or affordable housing in their communities to fast track people out of a homeless crisis response system in the first place. And some of that can be just about data and how well we're tracking folks and how well we're understanding how many people are actually entering homelessness, why are they falling out of it, and where can we place them. Since I started and since we were pulling data in 2018, we have flatlined across, and that has nothing to do with the pandemic, in terms of number of individuals entering permanent supportive housing or permanent housing. It's 2% every single quarter of every single year. So that is where the issue is. And when we can start addressing that and increasing that capacity, then we're definitely going to be able to solve at least part of this issue. But I think that given certain structural realities that exist, we probably will always be dealing with homelessness.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer, questions?
I do. So I have on my calendar that the Department of Commerce is having a meeting of some kind today at 3:30, which the board may or may not be able to attend because of our board meeting at 2. 3:30 to 4:30 is what I've got, and it's related to kind of a post-legislative session, how to implement the budget, all the new money that was allocated in order to achieve success and start helping people experiencing homelessness. I would hope that Tom or somebody from our team is going to be there and giving the report back to the board, because the board may or may not be able to do that depending on how long our meeting goes. Tom, are you aware of this commerce webinar thing going on?
Yes, it is on my calendar, and I am planning to attend this afternoon.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then my other question was for Keely. I think it was I was hearing about the state, having some active efforts to clear camps in right-of-ways, and I'm just wondering what you know about what their plan is for how they're going to do that, and where people will go for how long, and what can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So yesterday I received a call from Ted Kelleher from Department of Commerce Housing Assistance Unit about this very issue. So the governor had identified this as a priority and pushed some legislation in order to expedite the cleaning of the DOT right-of-ways. That legislation did not go through, so he created a proviso in his budget to clear the right-of-ways with Department of Transportation. However, there are requirements in that folks cannot be moved along until there is identified a place of permanent residency or temporary housing that is better than an encampment, but prioritizing permanent or permanent supportive housing efforts. And so from what I understand, there's $120 million in that pool, and there are 5 camps that have been identified as priorities by the governor, 3 of which are in Thurston County. So we are meeting with Ted Kelleher on Wednesday to discuss what does that look like, what does that mean? From my understanding, about 60 million of that, and that's the statewide funds, it's not just earmarked for Thurston, of course, but 60 million is for capital, 60 million for operations. So our office has already begun having that discussion with the city of Olympia and amongst ourselves, and then we will be able to have more clarity on it this afternoon, and then after speaking with Ted Kelleher tomorrow. So it's well underway. Talking with Ted Kelleher, it sounds as if he's been meeting on a weekly basis in person with the Secretary of DOT as well as the governor himself. So this is moving rapidly, and definitely has a significant impact on our county, I think, for the positive in terms of resources coming in.
3 out of the 5 camps are here.
Yep.
I guess it helps to have the governor living and working in the county.
Yes.
Well, that's way better than what I had heard. So that's positive news because I didn't know that there was the resources coming through, and I didn't know they were putting that requirement that you described about not moving people until they can find a better place. I had heard they were just it was gonna be a few nights of hotel rooms, and then it'd be just dispersal, kind of like what we had to manage at the shoots. Okay, thank you, Keely.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have updates on that, as we go forward in the next, couple of Tuesdays as it unfolds.
Thank you. Can I actually ask a follow-up and ask which 3 sites have been chosen?
There's the only 2 that I remember is the Wheeler, so along Wheeler Avenue, facing I-5 on the DOT side, and Slater Kenny, and there's one other in Olympia, and I can't remember the exact location.
Thank you. So I just wanted to really thank Keely because she helped coordinate the RHC retreat. So thank you, Keely, for all your hard work into that and getting all of that set up. And I thought it went pretty smoothly. It worked out wonderfully. And also want to give thanks to the staff that participated, Tom Webster, Megan Porter, Jacinda Stelgis. A lot of great input came from county staff. And of course, Keely, you were there as well. A lot of great input came from staff, and so that was really appreciated. So again, thank you for all your hard work on that.
Absolutely, thank you.
And Robin, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tom, could you just send me the information about the meeting this afternoon?
Yes, happy to.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, thank you so much. Next, we have the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of May 17th, 2022. We'll call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards. Approval of the Tuesday, May 17th agenda, and approval of the board meeting minutes from May 10th, 2022. Any questions on those items? Okay. Moving on, we have 2 presentations today. The first one is a proclamation for National Public Works Week.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today's we're Orange Day in Thurston County and perhaps across the nation. This afternoon, you will have the opportunity to proclaim the week of May 15th through the 21st of 2022 as National Public Works Week in Thurston County. This is a national effort and which provides an opportunity during this week and several events across the nation to thank and celebrate all the hard work the public works staff do to keep all the infrastructure operating correctly. here in Public Works. I believe you received an email from the Public Works Director outlining some of the events they have. One in particular is this coming Thursday in the morning is the rodeo. The Public Works staff will be participating, which, some of the winners will move into the state competition and so on and so forth into the national competition. I believe last week was a comment that maybe 2 years ago, the Public Works staff, maybe 3 years ago, won the national award related to the rodeo competition. I believe Commissioner Menzer also added to the fact the inner city transit staff also won that award. So this will be a great opportunity for you to say thank you, and I believe there's going to be some staff that join us this afternoon for Public Works.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Oh. Okay, just making sure Commissioner understands himself. Okay, next is the American Public Works Association State and National Project of the Year Awards for Albany Stormwater Pond.
Yeah, thank you. It's so timely that also Public Works will be celebrating an award-winning project, and this is the Albany Stormwater Pond. And this particular project was envisioned to address local flooding in the Rochester area. And what makes it a little bit more interesting in the source of winning this award is have a dual purpose. Not just contains the water to alleviate the flooding, but in the dry months serves a little bit of amphitheater. They provides a little bit of value added to the local community to have events. So, and again, this is an award-winning. You see the footprint of this pond. It's not a regular rectangular pond. It has a little more gentle design, as well as a lot of nice vegetation, and again, some sitting areas for the summer to be utilized. And Tim Wilson will walk you through in more detail about this project this afternoon.
Thank you. Questions? Next, there will be an opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
Yeah, you received a written testimony this morning via email. I believe Mr. Perez will be providing testimony on what you have received this morning. That's all I have in related to public testimony. Related to the county manager's update, I don't have any follow-up to any comments that you received last week. However, it's so timely that we just received the 2021 Certificate of Good Practice from the County Road Administration Board. In this certificate, I believe Commissioner Mejia, as a CRAB board member representing Thurston County, was part of that decision-making process back in April, I believe. So we officially received the Certificate of Good Practice. So this afternoon I will highlight that, and also will give this to the Public Works Director. Yes, another achievement, and just to give a perspective what that really means. Pursuant to the authority contained in RCW 3678090, and in recognition of the fact that this county, Thurston County, has submitted to the Department of Transportation or to the board all reports required by law or regulations of the board, and has reasonably complied with the provisions of law relating to the County Road Administration and with the standards of good practice as formulated and adopted by the County Road Administration Board. So congratulations again to Thurston County Public Works for the job well done, and kudos to you all.
Yes. Questions, comments?
Nope, it's good.
That means we're using our road diversion in a good manner. So it was definitely brought me great joy to approve that, being a CRAB board member. Okay, next we'll move on to consent items. There's only one item today, and it's the lease amendment extension with J4 Associates.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The board reviewed this item last week, and this is related to the space the Sheriff's Office occupies on the 7721 New Market Street in Tumwater. There's that main field operations the Sheriff's Office use in the patrol side of their business. This extension is for 1 year. They will take us through May 31st, 2023. And they intend to move into one year extension as opposed to longer than 2 years, than 1 year. That will give us the time to start assessing all the space needs of the sheriff's office in combination to the law and justice efforts that we're going to be doing here at the courthouse. I believe that this is a prudent approach to extend the lease for 1 more year, and hopefully by the end of the next year, if we're approved, so that will be May 31st, 2023, we'll have a more comprehensive plan to address the needs of the sheriff's office as well as the needs of the rest of the law and justice partners that remain in the courthouse campus.
Great. Questions?
Not for me.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew. I'll jump in there if there's a question. So.
I
Okay.
imagine so. I hadn't seen you on mute, so I was like, okay.
No, it's working out just fine. I just wanted to reaffirm that for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Next, there will be, we'll move on to department items. Items 4A, approval of the voucher list.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The week of May 2nd, 2022, the voucher list is the amount of $7,769,262.18. Regularly, these items are on your consent agenda, and Commissioner Woods has asked for staff to review if there's any items related to the payments related to the ATRIM to be part of a department item, so the board can exercise your individual votes related to this voucher list. On this voucher list for May 2nd, 2022, there is an item related to the ATRIM that is on page 81, and that is for the amount of $5,686.07.
Thank you. Questions? No? And I haven't heard the issue.
Yeah, no questions per
Okay.
se. I'll address the issue at the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, Public Health and Social Services. Item 5A, Treatment Sales Tax Community Grant Awards.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This item was not reviewed by you on last week's agenda. There's a new item on your agenda, but you were involved in the decision-making process related to the Treatment Sales Tax Community Grant Awards. The Community Grant Awards, the board set aside $400,000 in 2022, and an additional $400,000 in 2023. The Thurston County Treatment Sales Tax solicited proposals from community grants. The result of that, the advisory committee reviewed those applications and provided recommendations to the board via briefing 2 weeks ago. Last week, the board provided direction to award the TST grants, the treatment sales tax, to the following outfits in the community. One is the Heart Strides Therapeutic Horsemanship for $53,120 in year 2022 and 2023. The next is Providence Southwest Washington Foundation for $149,847 in 2022 and $256,880 in 2023. Next is the Pure Washington for $45,918.22 and $74,824 in 2023. The next award was for Family Support Center of South Sound for $86,292 in 2022 and $212,102 in 2023. Next is the Pacific Mountain Workforce Development Council, $68,333 in 2022 and $136,667 in 2023. And finally, Family Education and Support Services for $60,000 in 2022 and $60,000 in 2023. The decisions, the initial decisions the board made last week on Tuesday, the board unanimously decided to go beyond a little bit of what you have set aside at $400,000. Staff provided to you that it is enough ending fund balance And I believe this reflects the direction the board provided last Tuesday. And this for your consideration is final action. And Carrie Henning is here to add additional perspective. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Or Carrie, is there anything you would like to add?
Good morning, Commissioners. Carrie Hendon, Public Health and Social Services. Thanks for the summary, County Manager. And we talked about this in a briefing a couple weeks ago and agenda setting last week. Nothing to add. Happy to take questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions? Okay. Thank you, Carrie. We'll move on to item 6, Public Works. 6A, resolution and call for sealed bids for the Public Works Solid Waste Facilities Pump System Upgrades and Improvements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You reviewed this item last week. And this is related to improvements at the Wastewater Recovery Center located on 2420 Harbor Bay Drive in Lacey in the Hawkesbury area. We manage a closed landfill. There was closed back in 2020, and we're still going through a 30-year need to continue to manage this closed landfill. Within the system of maintaining this landfill, there is a system of stormwater leachate that we need to treat, and we have pumps associated with this system. Currently, they are 25 years old. As you may recall, the consultant engineering firm HDR performed a capital needs assessments back in 2019, and resulted on this is one of the purposes that we need to upgrade the pumps included in this system. So the proposal before you is to authorize Public Works to call for seal bids and receive the proposals to install the new pumps and the associated systems to support the new pumps, which is the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, SCADA. There's an estimated cost of $2 million at this point, and this project will be funded by the solid waste tip-in fees. And I believe we have Susan Isham here to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions? Okay. Next item 6B, resolution and call for sealed bids for Boston Harbor Road Northeast stormwater conveyance and outflow improvements.
You also reviewed this item last week, Commissioners, and I believe it is a welcome item for you to consider authorizing the county engineer to call for sealed bids to secure the services of our contractor to address a stormwater conveyance system on the Boston Harbor Road. This particular issue has been in the conversation with the neighborhood for at least maybe a year or so. And Commissioner Mejia has participated in some of the meetings with the property owners along this roadway. So certainly there's a deficiency, inefficient way to convey the water from the road. They will eventually go to Boston Harbor. And this particular project will address both the conveyance system and as well as the outflow structure leading to the Boston Harbor. I believe this will attempt to address some of the flooding issues that some of the properties have experienced, and I believe the property owners on this road also see this project as a welcome item for see a way as to how they can mitigate some of the flooding issues they have. With that, this is going to be funded by the stormwater water rates, and we have staff from Public Works. Nate, to add additional perspective. Nate, do you have an estimated engineer's estimate of this project?
Yes, I do. Thank you. The engineer's estimate is roughly $910,000.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Thanks.
Is this a project that, I mean, I know there was involvement of commissioner and staff. just a project that had to jump the line in a sense because there were problems that were coming up that were emerging, or how do we get to this particular point?
I believe there has been a process, at least since I had been involved, it's probably 2 years in the making. So it wasn't really anything that has jumped ahead. It was just part of the process. We identified the issues. We start working with the community as to how we can address the stormwater issues. And the whole process resulted on this. We embarked on an engineering design, and here we are.
Okay, thank you.
So the issue where I got involved were concerns about the initial design.
Okay,
Yes.
and
And then Nate stepped in, and he he coordinated a lot with the residents of that area, and this is how we're here now. They were very pleased with how the final designs came out, very engaged.
I ran into somebody in the community that wanted to talk to me about it, and after,
Yeah.
they seemed happy with what gave Nate kudos for his work.
Yeah, I think this was, Nate, wasn't it one of your, how long were you in? I think it was his first week with us, or he was very brand new at that time when he went out there with me.
Yes, it was my 4th week when we went on site together, Commissioner Mejia.
4th week, okay.
It's 4th week, awesome.
Well, thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
Okay, next is item 6C, change order to increase the scope of the Public Works Solid Waste Facilities SCADA system upgrade.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The board also reviewed this item last week. And as a matter of background, back in May 2021, the Board of County Commissioners authorized Public Works to award the contract for $1,015,746.73, which included a base bid and alternates 1 and 2 that will be an additive. I believe that adjective was discussed last week.
The alternative.
Yeah, alternative versus the additive.
Right,
So,
right.
for this conversation, let's talk about additives, number 1 and number 2. And to Northeast Electric LLC to complete the supervisory control and data acquisition of the SCADA system to upgrade all the elements of the wastewater recovery center at the work. It was intended to have another additive, number 3, but at that point, the budget was not there because we set aside a little bit of contingency in the event the base bid and the additives 1 and 2 may be going over the budget. We also authorized under the contract, the Public Works to have a 10% variation within that cost. Move forward to this year, we realized the delivery of the base bid and the additives 1 and 2 are not in need to access the contingency money that was set aside. As a result, the board, Public Works is asking the board to award a portion of the additive number 3 for $71,344. And that will include the 3 condensate sumps control system upgrades. So, and again, the additive number 3 and fully will not be requested as part of this amendment. And the additional $71,344 goes beyond the 10% that you authorized for the Works Director. And that is why it's going back to the board for consideration. Jeff, any additional perspective?
Actually, I think that was very well described. Jeff Pickford, Solid Waste Manager. I think that was well described by the County Manager, and I'm willing to answer any other questions.
Questions?
No questions, thanks.
No? Okay. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner. Oh, go ahead, County Manager.
Hey, Jeff, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Can you provide an update, not related to this item, provide an update on the repair of the compactor at the work? Please?
Certainly. The company SSI, they mobilized yesterday, so the work is underway. I'm not sure exactly yet how long the repair will take as of this time, but at the latest, it's supposed to be by Thursday to be completed, but we're hoping earlier than that.
And also, we are managing the intake of the solid waste. I believe we have empty containers that will help us to continue to go through this process without affecting the operations of the facility itself until the compactor is fixed. Is that a statement correct?
That is correct. Matter of fact, we had extra containers at the end of the day yesterday, and the Waste Connections to the who operates the facility ran later to help catch up with some of the backlog, and the containers are coming in again today, and they will we'll continue to stay on that to keep up with the waste as it comes in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll review our standing items. Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings. And the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of May 17th. And we will adjourn. I will conclude our agenda for May 17th. Next is the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting on May 24th. So call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser, and then the approval of the Tuesday, May 24th, 2022 agenda. Approval of the board meeting minutes from May 17th, 2022. Any questions on those? Okay, we will have one presentation, and it will be the introduction of new public works employees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jennifer Walker, Public Works Director, will be introducing new Public Works employees. And that will give the opportunity for the board members to welcome and wish them well for new county employees.
Questions? Comments? Okay, then there will be an opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
I don't have any particular updates at this point, nor I have any indication of any particular public comment.
Okay. So next we'll move on to consent items A through D. First item, and it seems item A and B are somehow connected. District Court, a resolution setting the salaries for the District Court Commissioners, and item B is the Superior Court, as a resolution setting the salaries for Superior Court Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Both items are related to the state law requires the Washington Citizens Commission on salaries for elected officials to set the salaries for judicial branches of state government. That will be the judges for both district and superior court. The new salaries for the judicial officers will take effect on July 1st, 2022. And the district court judges, the new salary will be $193,447. It will take effect again on July 1st, 2022. Under Resolution 157780, the salary set for the court commissioners and district courts, the 85% of the district court judges. And this particular request is for your consideration to set the district court commissioners at the 85th percentile of the district court judges' salaries.
Thank you. Questions? I do have a question, and I'm going to take it both as item A and B because I have a question in regards to, I remember this was a budget request for Superior Court back when this came, and last year's budget, it was a very low priority of theirs, and it did not get approved by the commissioners. So I'm wondering if this is going to, if their salaries are going to change or it's going to take effect on July 1st, how is that going to be covered? Are the courts going to be taking on those?
Don't they absorb those?
Any reclassification is absorbed in the year that it takes effect.
They're not requesting additional budget, no.
And the state sets the salaries. We don't have a choice in paying them.
For the judges.
For the judges.
Yeah,
That's
For the-
exactly
for-
right.
for
The commissioners are a different story, but,
What was the formula you said,
85 percentile of the judges. In district court, the new salary for the judges in district court will be 193,447. And for Superior Court judges will be 203,169.
That's the judges.
The judges, so the court commissioners will be 85% of that.
203 and 103, is that what you said?
190.
193
193,
and
okay, I was
203.
gonna say. That's half the pay is not.
No, I'm sorry. It's
I didn't catch the
193
nine.
and 203.
Got it, yep.
So, okay, so then was this, because before it was kind of the judges would set that kind of percentage. So now there's a resolution by, was it a legislative action that basically now the state will set the percentage that commissioners get paid in?
no, the Board of County Commissioners gets to determine the pay of the commissioners. And then you adopt that by resolution.
So I'm confused
The
on
state of
how.
Washington sets the judges' salaries.
I understand that part, but I'm wondering how we got like basically to this point. Is it something that's done yearly, every 2 years?
So
And how we got to that
remember,
percentage too?
Romero, didn't the a past Board of County Commissioners set the percentage at 85%?
Yeah, it's stated in Resolution
traditional.
157.
So that's not new.
Okay,
What you're doing is adopting the pay plan that sets the dollar amounts, which you do every year.
okay,
So maybe to answer your question, it's not every year. I believe every time the salary of the judges are adjusted, this item comes before the board.
Pretty much every
okay.
year.
To follow,
Every
to
year.
follow our previous resolution,
Right.
which we could change, but we'd have to change the
You
resolution.
have to change the resolution.
Right.
You
You can
just to-
adjust the 85%.
So just to be
but-
clear, because the board passed a resolution related to the court commissioners, both district and superior court. The board has the option to change the resolution and you have the latitude on that.
Right, because you set the pay.
Okay, so we're not increasing that percentage. What we're doing is basically the judge's salary has gone up, so therefore the county commissioners, or the court commissioners, not the county
Right,
commissioners.
based on the traditional, if you will, 85%.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification and breaking it down.
So just to give you a perspective of the salary, so the superior court judges, there is the salary that will take effect July 1st, 2022, again is 203,169. If the board approves the 85 percentile for the court commissioners, the new salary will be 172,693.65 cents.
Okay. And then this question is for Tara. I know the court commissioners for both district and superior court requested to be added in kind of into the study, the market study plan. Are they included in that, or?
That's a good question for Maria, but I don't think we've included, they're doing job classifications for pretty much everyone, but probably not court commissioners
Yeah,
or
because that's an
judges.
appointed position by the courts. May not, but we
We'll
can
have to
certainly
see.
explore that question.
Because they're doing other appointed positions, but they're probably, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, I can check with Maria and definitely get back to you on that.
I know
Thank
there
you,
was
Tara.
conversation on, because I know that percentage was something that they.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions, comments? Are we clear on those two items? Yeah,
Good to go. Good to go.
thank you. Okay. Next item, item C, from the assessor, a resolution reclassifying position 01R00029 in the Thurston County Pay and Classification Pay Plan.
Yeah, the county assessor, his office has been very diligent in making sure the the step increase in the reclassifications are aligned with the training program that he has in his office. In this particular case, the request is to reclassify an appraisal assistant position to a senior appraisal since the employee has completed all the qualification requirements to perform the duties of the senior appraiser. The senior appraiser is needed, is a business need in the assessor's office. And again, I believe his office is very systematic as to how they go about in those classifications and reclassifications. This particular change will go from $4,837 per month to $6,174 per month. That will be an increase of $1,337 per month, or 27% increase. And at this point, the county assessor is not asking for additional budget authority. He will be able to cover that within his current budget allocation. And County Assessor Steven Drew is on the Zoom to add additional perspective, answer any questions the board may have.
Assessor Drew?
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners and staff. Thank you for hearing this AIS for us. Yeah, I think Romero teed it up pretty well. What I would add is that this employee came to us with relevant hours of service as an appraiser. The State of Washington Department of Revenue is who certifies appraisers in the assessor world. They reviewed his experience and gave him credit for the experience that he brought when he came to the county. That experience, together with his time with us, has produced certification as an appraiser by Department of Revenue. So this request is, in my view, an urgent one because he can command a salary of a senior appraiser in any one of the counties around us. And so we move actively when folks get accredited to ask to have the job reclassified. Looking back a spell, you might recall we downgraded this FTE from a senior appraiser to an appraiser assistant because we couldn't find a certified appraiser to hire. So this is an oscillating situation. Would all be solved with a career ladder when that occurs. And until then, I need to take your time occasionally to make these adjustments. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Good presentation. Thank you.
Commissioner Menzer? Okay, no questions. Thank you, Assessor Drew. Okay, next item, Public Works. Public Works is a resolution reclassifying position 34R01302 in the Thurston County Management and Technical Pay Plan and the Thurston County At-Will Pay Plan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. As you may recall, last year, the Board of County Commissioners created a new position classification. And the classification was the assistant director. And the assistant director was to help in a larger departments to help with the internal operations of that. I believe late last year, you took an action to reclassify a position within the Public Health and Social Services Department as a assistant director. That position remained vacant, and we're waiting until the new Public Health Social Service Director come online for that person to select a new assistant. So also Public Works, as you can imagine, that's a very complex department. They have approximately 200 employees with a $96 million annual budget in a very complex business and with 21 separate funds. The approach to this was to give the directors the tools necessary to assess the business needs without creating a new position. So this particular request is on point. Public Works Director Jennifer Barker went through the internal selection process as to who might be interested in stepping up into this particular assistant director. And the existing person who is holding the senior management analyst was selected to move into this new assistant director position. This particular item will have an impact of, on the budget from $9,509 to $11,477. And that will be an increase of $1,968 or a 20% increase. This is not, this position is not funded by the general fund, it is funded by all the funds within the Public Works Department. And at this point, the department is not requesting additional budget authority because they can absorb within their current budget. So.
Thank you. And then I think I saw Jennifer was waiting too.
Any questions?
Okay, questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thanks.
Questions, Commissioner Benson?
So this is there's already an identified internal candidate that will be assuming this position?
Yeah.
And who is that?
I believe the person who's holding that is Karen Weiss.
I think that's an excellent choice. I do have a bit of a concern about the workload that she currently does in support of their finance. How will that be covered?
And then Jennifer?
Jennifer is right here to answer that question.
Good morning, Jennifer Walker, Public Works Director. Robin, will you repeat the question, please?
Yes, Karen is an essential part of your finance and budget team in Public Works. How will her work there that I'm assuming she will leave behind to take the assistant director duties? How will that financial work be covered if you're abolishing that position?
It'll be a transition, so it will be spread out. Some of the responsibilities will shift back to the fiscal manager and then spread out amongst some of the other staff within that group. So I'm anticipating a couple of additional structure changes within that division to help support that, but it won't be overnight. So she will transition into that position, especially since we have the ERP project that will be complete hopefully by the end of this year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is department items. Item 4A from the Auditor's Office, approval of the voucher list.
Yeah, this particular item again is usually on the consent agenda is the approval of the voucher list. In this case, it's for the week of May 9, 2022 for $3,771,166.37. Commissioner Edwards asked to, when we find any item related to the atrium, to be brought as a department item. So in this case, there is one item on page 40 for $6,541.68.
Questions?
No.
Okay,
No questions this time,
Okay.
thanks.
thank you, sir. Okay, next, Central Services, item 5A, Fairground improvements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe this is long-awaited next steps related to what we call is the signature project at the Fairground. The board was briefed on this particular project as to what the Fair Board is planning to do. Ultimately, they would like to have a new building as an agriplex that will have a multi-purpose. And this particular item is to secure the services of an architectural firm to start working on the details of this long-term project. And at some point, if you authorize this, we'll come back with some of the proposed designs this particular firm will do. And but I believe this is, at least from my point of view, a great first step, since this project has been in the conversation for a couple of years at least. And Jason Ash is here to answer any questions related to this item. And again, I'm sorry, the item is to amend the current contract with MSGS Architects for $101,466 to begin the engineering and design of this building.
I would just add that the base contract here is our on-call contract. So that what Central Services does is present an amendment each time we use our on-call.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions at this time, thanks.
Commissioner? Okay, no questions for me either. Thank you. Okay, Community Planning and Economic Development. Contract for hearing examiner pro tem services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you know, the hearing examiners provide an essential function to the county in hearing many appeals, and in the area includes many broad areas of the economic development, as well as public works and environmental health. We do have a contract with a hearing examiner, but also as a result of the increased workload in the past, the board has authorized our pro tem hearing examiner. And the pro tem, they used to serve those functions, retired last year, and we went through the process of securing the services of a new pro tem. This particular person is Judge Stephen Shelton, is retired judge, and he will be providing the services of pro tem of the hearing examiners. There were 2 submissions received for the hearing examiners pro tem last year. Both were interviewed and reviewed by selecting a team. And although both candidates were well qualified obviously, but it just came down about the cost. Mr. Stephen Shelton, one of the candidates that was not selected was the hourly rate was $225 per hour. Just to give you perspective, the current hearing examiners hourly rate $175. So I believe the mayor this pro tem is the hourly rate is $160, and that's why it was selected for this particular purpose. So, and this particular item for you is to approve this contract with Judge Stephen Shelton. Again, is retired, and this particular contract will go through December 31st, 2025. And the reason that I'm highlighting the hourly rate is paid on services, is fee for service. So whatever time they spend on the hearing examiners and hearings, that's what the hourly rate you have to pay. It's not a set salary per se. Jeremy, would you like to add anything to this?
Thank you, County Manager Chavez. I don't have anything additional to add, except that Judge Stephen Shelton was the subcontractor for our previous hearing examiner pro tem, if you remember, for all of 2021. So he has actually heard items for Thurston County before, and is also familiar with our code. And I heard good things about his hearing process as well. Thank you.
Who was the previous pro tem that retired?
The previous pro tem was Mr. Casso, out from Pierce County. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Menzer? No. Okay, next is Emergency Services, item 7A, Active Shooter Incident Management Basic Train, the trainer course.
Yeah, Commissioner, the Thurston County Fire Chiefs Association, the Thurston County Law Enforcement Agencies, and the Thurston County Mass Casualty Incident Committee have identified a need for further training to enhance the unified command efforts on scene during a mass casualty incident. The Active Shooter Incident Management Basic Train the trainer to the course will be given to those individuals involved within the system. This particular proposal for you is to award the contract to C3 Pathways to deliver this training for $17,991, and this will be covered within the current authorized budget. The interim emergency services director is out of the office, but the interim Public Health and Social Services Director Kurt Harding is here to cover this item, answer any additional questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
On this particular issue, I see that, well, first of all, County Manager, what budget is this coming out of?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this medic one,
No,
was emergency
this-
services.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and answer that real quick. Kurt Harden, interim public health and also emergency services director. It's coming out of our federal funds on the emergency management division. So it's fully funded by federal funds from our SHSP grant.
Okay, that was, thank you. That answered my question. I didn't even need to ask it. Good. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Is that a typo where it says contract with C3 Pathways should be Inc. or what is ICS?
Oh, are you tracking on that question, Kurt? The name of the training is INC or ICS?
I will get back to you on that. I believe it's INC Inc. Incorporated, but I will get back to you and we'll make sure we clarify that.
Good eye.
Okay. I don't have any questions, Kurt. Thank you. Next, item 7B, amendment to Thurston County 21 EMPG ARPA.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board authorized receiving funding from the EMPG ARPA funds from the state for $10,055. It became, we became aware there is additional money under this contract for an additional 5,000, I believe. Let me see. I just put $5,000, I believe. No, it's $10,000, 55. That's the additional. Thank you. And the base contract the board approved was $43,978. So the new contract will be $54,033. And I believe this add additional funding for a compatible printer for the volunteer management program, purchase 2 updated projectors, and to remove the training and public education portable at the ECC operations at the Tule campus. And again, this item is to receive additional money to complete this project. Kurt?
Yeah, that's a good summary by the county manager. And again, this is additional funding that's coming in. While there is a match for this, we are able to match that requirement with salaries and benefits from emergency management staff, so no additional funding from the county general fund is needed.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer? No? Okay, no questions for me either. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Next, Public Defense, item 8A, approval of a contract with the State of Washington Office of Public Defense.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the board is aware, the Thurston County Public Defense provides indigent dependency and termination defense legal services in the Thurston County Juvenile Court. The State of Washington Office of Public Defense pays Thurston County Public Defense for some of those costs. In this particular case is for the amount of $172,909 for just about a monthly payment of $12,520 for attorney's fees. So this contract for your consideration is to receive those payments from the state, and the performance of this contract is from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. I believe Director Patrick O'Connor is here to add additional perspective on this.
Thank you, Romero. Good morning, County Commissioners. Patrick O'Connor, Director of Thurston County Public Defense. as the county manager indicated, this is an ask of me for the board's approval for me to execute a contract with the State Office of Public Defense to renew indigent services for clients of ours that are facing dependency proceedings and termination of parental rights. The contract's pretty straightforward. It extends through June of 2023, and as we continue to provide those services. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
So just a small thing, but shouldn't the action say Thurston County, is it family and juvenile court? I mean, these aren't juvenile court proceedings.
They're not juvenile court proceedings. They're held in family juvenile court, but they are adult proceedings for parents.
So could we say family and juvenile court so it's not implying that these are juveniles that are having termination? I mean, it's not what I think of as juvenile court, even though the building is where juvenile court happens, right?
Yes, Commissioner, if you would prefer it that way, can you reference exactly where that language is so we can make that change?
In the action on the proposed agenda, where it says indigent dependents, right in the middle, it references legal work in Thurston County Juvenile Court.
Yes, I'd be happy to clarify that.
And then this amount, 172,000, is it, so does your office handle all indigent, I mean, unless there's a conflict, handle all indigent dependency work of that nature, or is it some kind of sharing with other groups?
We do not handle all the representations. We have one senior defense attorney that handles a caseload of representation and additional costs with the legal support that comes with that caseload.
Yeah.
State Office of Public Defense contracts with multiple independent contractors, both in Thurston and Mason, to provide these representations. So we handle only a portion of those representations.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And so then I'm just wondering, how did it come to be, or how did it get decided that you would have one FTE versus having more or none at all? I mean, how did that land that you'd get, whatever slice you're doing, why is that the right slice for Thurston County Public Defense versus the other contractors?
I think that's a fair question, Commissioner. We've had this position now for over a decade, and we haven't expanded the services to include more representations. I have had those conversations with State Office of Public Defense, but to be frank, with all the other growth in our department, this is one area that I haven't pursued growth in just yet. I think it's a conversation for the future, and I'd be happy to have that conversation with State Office of Public Defense. They ultimately would be the decision maker on whether or not they want to increase those services through our office.
So just to summarize, you could lobby to grab more of that work, but you're comfortable with kind of how it's structured right now in terms of your office.
That's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, Patrick. Okay, Public Health and Social Services, item 9A, approval of interlocal agreements for specialized recreation services.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, I said Margaret. I'm seeing Margaret in water.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This particular request for you to consider approving 3 separate interlocal agreements with the city of Olympia, Tumwater, and Lacey for the period of May 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. The 3 cities have allocated funding to provide services for the developmental disabilities programs in the county. This particular proposal is related to specialized recreation services. In the city of Olympia, contract is for the amount of $13,720. The city of Lacey is for $8,377. And the city of Tumwater is the cost of $2,145. The specialized recreation program is a regional program offering recreation activities designed for adults with developmental disabilities. This program serves just about over 200 clients with activities ranging from social dances, trips to community events, bowling, and swim club. Margaret, have additional perspective?
Good morning, commissioners. Do you have any questions?
Sorry. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
I guess I'm just like a little confused how these contracts work. I mean, the city of Olympia, what would trigger some, like, let's take City of Olympia, for example. What would trigger them,
The amount.
them making a payment to us?
So could you, Margaret, can you elaborate, I believe what Commissioner Mason is asking, how the specific amounts are set aside for each city?
Yes, that is a good question. The specific amounts that each city contribute to this program have been set amounts for a number of years. It dates back to probably 20 years or so that we have roughly had the same amount. We are in talks and would welcome discussions to increase the amount. But we have looked at population sizes, and the cities are comfortable with contributing this dollar amount for a number of years.
I didn't know if I answered.
Well, no, I mean, no, that's helpful. It's it's interesting. I'm just, you know, like, what does that amount to in terms of like what the county puts forth, you know, or what the total program amount is? I mean, is this 1% of our cost for these different programs that they're just pitching in? Is that kind of how it works, or 10%?
I don't have the specific data, but I would be happy to gather that and present that to you.
Okay, I was just curious. It's just, you know, because these are great programs, and there's like Ramiro outlined several different things, and these are pretty small amounts. I'm just kind of wondering how it all fits together.
And I think Margaret touched the allocations based on population. Although right now the population between Lacey and Olympia are pretty much apart, and I think that's probably Margaret is stating that the increase in funding is under discussion.
Yeah.
Because those old set asides based on the old population numbers are no longer representing the current population.
Okay. All right. Very good.
My question is it 23 or 24?
24.
It is 24, okay.
December 31st.
Okay, perfect. Any additional questions? We're good? Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Okay, item B, Department of Social and Health Services, Developmental Disabilities Administration, County Program Agreement with Thurston County.
Similar and related is particular amendment number 1 to the state Department of Disabilities Administration. That provides an additional $5,704,225 for a revised total amount of $11,229,653 to extend the end date to June 30, 2023. The renewal of these programs will receive an annual developmental disability money, and this money will be used on many different programs associated with the developmental disabilities activities that we have in Thurston County. Those may include a high school transition, community information and education activities, provider training, employment and community inclusion. High school transition services will provide opportunities for exploration of vocational interests, facilitating connections with adult services, and working towards a job attainment upon graduation, among the many other activities. Mark Moffett is here to add additional perspective as to related to this item. Mark.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this is an amendment to the approved agreement from last year. It extends the period from June 30th through next for 2023 to or June 30th, 2023, and it increases the funding by about $5,704,000. So this is so we can continue with employment and day services for people with developmental disabilities, high school transition, and some other programs, as Ramiro had mentioned.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Munster? No questions for me, Mark. Thank you. Next, looks like items C and D are related. Treasury Rent Assistance Contract with Live Stories, and item D, amendment to Live Stories Rent Assistance Contract.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Those items C and D are related. And this is related to suspending the contract with the Community Action Council. There was lending assistance and distributing rental assistance, utility assistance to those individuals in need in our community. The first item, C, is related to the reimbursement of the money that we received from Community Action Council related to the upfront money that we provided to them is for $1.7 million. There will be an increase to life stores to continue to work on providing rental assistance. Item D is for $2,200,000. That is the remainder of the contract that we have with CAC. So there's two different items of this. Is the advance payment that we provided to CAC for $2 million. They used some of that money and they reverted back to the county for 1.7. And the 2.2 million on item D is the remainder of the overall contract. John is here to answer in this one perspective without getting too much into details.
Tom?
Yeah, County Manager gave a very good summary, and just to kind of add to that, there's two separate items because there are technically two separate pots of money. So that first one, the 1.7 million, is money we received directly from Treasury Department. The second, and so that's a new contract because it is a new funding source with that 1.7 million. That is the advance that we received back from CAC. D is an amendment to the existing contract. That is our contract with Department of Commerce funds through the Treasury Rental Assistance Program. So that's why there's two separate contracts, because one is our direct allocation from Treasury and the second is via the Department of Commerce.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thanks.
Questions, Commissioner Munster?
Since I have to read this, Tom, can you remind me how to pronounce that name? Gecko,
Yeah.
Jocko?
Giaco.
Giaco.
I will send you the phonetic.
I remember that, Giaco.
Okay, so just a clarification for me, Tom. So the 1.7 is from the advance we made to CAC that they gave back. This 2.2 is new funding that we've gotten from the Department of Commerce. Is that correct?
No, not exactly. No.
No?
It was the remaining funding in the CAC contract that was unspent. So this was under a contract with the Department of Commerce. The contract with CAC was for approximately $9 million. And so this is the amount. The first $5 million that we awarded to Live Stories came from under this contract. And this was, we took $5 million because we weren't sure exactly how much CAC was going to have for trailing costs. And so this is the remaining 2.2 million that was available from that contract. So it is not new money from the Department of Commerce.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to Public Works. Item 10A, resolution vacating unopened rights of ways in the plat of Boston Harbor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. On November 10, 2020, a public hearing was held for the vacation of the portions of the county's right-of-way, also known as unopened 69th Avenue Northeast, that is located in the Boston Harbor area. This particular public hearing before the hearing examiners was concluded, and the next step in the process for you to consider this vacation. And I provided to you, my apologies, Commissioner Edwards, I have a map for you related to this particular location. I will make sure that you get a map before the next Tuesday, and that depicts the location as to where this vacation request is. It is located next to the Burfoot Park. So as stated on the request, that is not, this right-of-way has not been open to the public, so remain unopened. And that is one of the conditions in which any vacation process needs to move forward. As long as the county has not opened for the public use, and as long as, we have not maintained it for public use, a vacation process can proceed. Chris Sisson is here to add additional perspective to this request.
Thank you, Commissioners. County Manager gave a good summary. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. When something takes place like this, is there a dollar amount benefit that comes back to the county?
Typically, there is some exceptions located in county code for wetlands, topography issues that exempt out property. That area that does not qualify for an exemption is for fair market value back to the county.
So in this case, does the county come out with some revenue, or maybe it enhances an additional piece of property and then there's new revenue generated because of that? Could you explain that a little bit?
In this case, both. There will be compensation paid directly to the county. There is the enhancement to the adjacent property, which will then undergo, it's my understanding, will undergo residential development as part of this vacation. So both in this case.
And I guess when you say residential development, it's going to be attached to an existing piece of property. Is that what's going to happen?
Correct. It will be. Yes, there's an adjacent parcel that this will be attached to.
And at some point, will we hear a dollar amount?
The appraisal was completed and we have accepted the dollar amount. I don't have that number right off the top of my head, but I can certainly find that and forward that over if you would like. But it is a few $1,000s. It wasn't significant. It wasn't tens of thousands, but it was a few $1,000s that we did receive.
Okay. I mean, I just wonder if that is worth putting in the motion portion, just so the public knows that we're trying to do good anytime we can as far as recouping dollars.
Certainly, we can have that added if you would like.
Well, depending on my other seatmates, what they feel too.
I'm okay with that. Commissioner Munson?
What questions?
Okay. Are you okay with adding that additional language onto the? Yeah, okay. So you have 3 thumbs up, Craig.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank
and I
you.
don't have any questions as well, and then, oh, I thought you said no questions, sorry.
I thought you were just asking me
Oh,
about
no.
the
Sorry.
language in the thing.
Go ahead.
So I don't really understand the map at all. Can somebody explain to me what I'm seeing and where the vacation
Yeah, the
is? and what
vacation
red
is
block
the
means?
solid red. And the
Oh, those are two parcels
yeah,
with
the
the
two
white,
parcels that will benefit
but it's
from-
the solid red underneath the two
Yeah.
red with the white?
Yeah, that is what is the vacation.
Because we could have turned the road there,
It's not open.
but I mean, that was the idea.
That was the idea. It was, and in fact, this was deeded to the county back in 1907. As part of the plot at that time.
So, okay, so the parcel, how does the parcel behind get into and out of its property? The property that's furthest from the green road?
They probably the same owner owns those properties all the way to the road.
Oh, so he doesn't need.
Yeah, and so the depiction is just the parcels who will be benefiting from the vacation. Because I would assume, based on what Craig is stating, this particular residential development will involve more than just the 2 parcels who benefit from this vacation process.
Thank you, Craig. With that, Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, and the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of May 24th, and we will adjourn that meeting. And just as
We have a public hearing.
oh, sorry,
Shouldn't have to-
completely missed that page. Sorry. I was excited to be done. Okay, we do have a public hearing. It's a community planning and economic development. It will start at 3 or shortly thereafter. Seeing the size of the agenda, I think it's going to be not at 3.
Probably not.
The public hearing is the renewal of interim emergency housing ordinance 15792.
Yeah, and for your consideration, the current emergency housing ordinance ends on June 9, 2022. And this particular action is for the board to consider public testimony before you may consider extending it to December 9, 2022. As you may recall, this item is part of the docketing process where the board authorized to go through the process of making it permanent. So we need to continue in this process, if I may, until the permanent resolution becomes before the board.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thanks.
Okay, no questions from Commissioner.
And I do have an item that is not included in your agenda. We have been working on the policy related to the Keep Washington Working Act. I believe the board had reviewed those the policy maybe a couple of months ago, I may say. And the request for the board at that time was to send the last final review of that policy for the stakeholders, the sheriff's office and the courts. We have received no additional comments, and they were appreciative of us moving forward on this. So there will be an item for your consideration to formally approve the Keep Washington Working policies. Yeah, for next Tuesday. My apologies that we didn't include this for your review this morning, but considering the following meeting of the board, which is after Memorial Day, is canceled, so we need to bring this item for your consideration next week. But again, if you don't feel comfortable approving that policy at that time, then we can certainly move it to a later date. But that's the intent of staff to bring this forth for your consideration, final consideration.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, not at this time. I might have some questions, but not right now, thanks.
Okay. Questions, Commissioner Menzer? Can we get an updated final version?
I'll distribute a copy, yes.
Perfect. Okay. So that will conclude our meeting of May 24th. Just for the public to know, the Transportation Benefit District that was scheduled for May 17th is canceled. So there will be no Transportation Benefit District today. With that, we'll go ahead and take a 15-minute break, and we will be back. Thank you. You're live. Okay, and we are back. It is 11:03 a.m. and we left off with proclamations and awards.
Good morning, Jamie Caldwell, Clerk of the Board. This afternoon's proclamation for National Public Works Week is included in your packet for review. This is the last one scheduled to be presented this month. I've also included the draft proclamation for the LGBTQ plus Pride Month that is scheduled for presentation at the June 7th meeting. I've reached out to a couple local organizations and I'm awaiting responses to see who may be available to attend and accept it. I have a couple of updates on boards and commissions. I got current contact information from Commissioner Edwards' aide for the LMTAAA. When I was able to touch base with Jessica Hodges, she stated that they didn't currently have an opening after the most recent appointment of Ellen Wendt, but they do have a member that is resigning in the next month, and I asked her to review Ms. Gaffigan's application and let me know if they'd like to move forward with recommending her for appointment after the resignation of their current sitting member was made official. I was also contacted last week by the staff liaison for the Fair Board about a reappointment request submitted earlier this year. After reviewing the meeting minutes, it doesn't appear that this request was brought before the board for review, so I've included it in your packet. It's a reappointment request for Paul Longwell. He occupies at-large seat number 10 on the Fair Board and is requesting reappointment for a second 4-year term. The reappointment request for Vog May to the Housing Authority has been included again as well. This was initially brought for your review at last week's agenda setting meeting, and I wasn't sure if you had any direction to provide for her reappointment request or if you'd like to circle back around next week and provide direction for her and Mr. Longwell's reappointment request together. So unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
Questions, comments, Commissioner Edwards?
I don't think I have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Menzer? County Manager?
Not necessarily a question, Madam Chair, just to follow up to the conversation the board had related to the Agriculture Advisory Committee last week. So I will be sending an email to the Agriculture Advisory Committee Chair, requesting some specific information that was discussed last week. So I just wanted to make sure that I follow up on that. Hopefully I'll send that email hopefully by the end of today, if not tomorrow.
Commissioner Menzer, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just thought I would use this opportunity. The chair came to public comment, invited the board to the meeting Thursday. I initially said I would attend, but they also sent 2 other members to meet with me on Friday. And when I discussed that with them, they thought that they'd like to have an internal discussion before they had commissioners come speak. And since Commissioner Mejia, I know, wasn't available anyway, and I didn't know about Commissioner Edwards, I decided to honor the request of those other members that I met with Friday and let them kind of sort out when they would like the commissioners to come and on what topics. And they kind of wanted to have an internal discussion. So I'm just letting my seatmates know I will not be attending the Thursday meeting, but I probably will in the future, and we'll probably all get an invite at a future meeting and we can decide if we can all go together or how we want to deal with that. So there it is.
Thank you. Yes, I am not available Thursday. I do have another event that I have to attend during that time. So, okay. I didn't see. Commissioner Edwards, anything?
I think I'm there with y'all. I think I'm committed on Thursday myself. So
okay.
I think we're all in this together on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to PIO check-in.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. I have no updates this morning.
Okay, thank you. Oh, do you want to do the coffee with the commissioner?
Yes, there is a coffee with the commissioner this Thursday. It is at the Sandstone Cafe in Tenino, and it begins at 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, I believe.
What's the topic?
The Board of Health expansion, and County Manager Chavez will also be there.
As well as Gretchen.
As well as Gretchen Thaler, yes.
So in my calendar, starts at 2:30.
2:30, okay. It is being recorded by TC Media, so if people cannot attend, it will be available on YouTube a few days following the event, because we cannot live stream from there, so.
Thank you. Okay. Briefing, public hearing decisions pending.
Nothing pending, Madam Chair.
Okay. And then moving on to commissioners' items, we have a couple of items. The first one is Thurston County quitclaim deed.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. There will be a document circulating for your signature. Let me give you a perspective, a little bit of a background related to this item. The property was purchased by Thurston County back in 1905, from Jones and Marks Erickson for $50, a whopping $50. The deed from the Ericksons include a reversion clause that stated that if the county ceases using the spit site for gravel removal, then the property will revert back to the grantor. The descendant of the original grantor, Dick Erickson, sent a letter to Commissioner Mentzer's office, since it's in his district, asking that the county transfer the property back to his family. It is no longer used for a gravel pit. It has not been used for quite some time by Public Works. And there was an internal conversation with the then operations manager, Lucy Mills. They confirmed that in fact this property has not been used for the intended purposes as a gravel pit. And also Scott Lindblom, the county engineer, Jennifer Walker, has reviewed this proposal and is recommending from the department for you to sign this quit claim deed. Attached to your packet is information related to this property. And again, this is a procedural next step. And this is a reversion clause on the initial donation. I just want to make sure that you have that conversation today. And Craig Season is here to add additional perspective, but again, we'll be circulating this item for your signature and the appropriate notary associated with your signature as soon as you have this conversation. Craig?
Thank you, County Manager. I'm here for any questions. That was a very thorough background.
Thank you. Any additional comments your office would like to provide, Commissioner Mentzer?
Just that my understanding is that legally this is what should happen anyway, but just as a side note, we got a really nice letter from the family who gave us some history, talked about how they've had this property, this farm since 1897. They are working with the Thurston Conservation District right now to enhance habitat restoration on their wetland portions, and they'd like to include this gravel pit in their overall plan, so that's why they're hoping to get this sorted through, and it seemed to be legally appropriate and straightforward, so we just worked through that with Public Works, and it sounded like I's were dotted, T's were crossed, if the board would go ahead and sign the deed.
Okay. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
I don't know that I have any particular questions, and certainly no objection to this going back to the originating family. I guess my concern is, if I have a concern, that the property where the fairgrounds are located was obtained by the county with the same type of stipulation. And so I'm just wondering if we would be setting precedent by doing this outside of the normal AIS process, in which, the whole intent of the process is so the public can be aware and comment if they so desire, and that type of thing. So I'm just wondering if it's a big deal or not to have this go through the normal process that Craig would normally bring this to our attention, and for only consistency, I guess, would be the reason I'm even bringing this up for discussion. So I don't know how it ties in, how legal might think about doing one property one way and something else another way. So any thoughts on that? Or
I'm just wondering, when you're saying, I've never seen a parcel where we had a reversion language, you know, like this. You're saying the fairgrounds has to revert to some prior owner if we're not, using it as a fairgrounds? Or I don't see the analogy.
Certain areas that is true.
Okay, well, then we would do the same thing when we stop using it as a fairground. I mean, it's contractual language. When you say we're not following normal process, I'm not sure what you're referring to, because I've never seen anything like this.
No, one we did earlier today, I think we discussed it, maybe for next week. I'm just saying there's been an ongoing process, the way we get out from underneath properties that are no longer beneficial to the county. We want them to go to somebody. In this case, there'd certainly be no charge to the family that it was being returned to. And I just wonder, are we causing a problem down the road at all? The fairgrounds is a 40-acre property on a lake and is going to be much more substantial in value, I suppose, if you would, than this would. And, you know, when it says family members, I don't know the family or anything about the family, but is somebody going to be mad because they didn't get a benefit during some estate settlement because they were left out of this? I don't know. I just bring it up as an issue. I'm certainly not against giving this property back to the rightful owners. I just want to make sure we do it right and don't set some kind of a precedence that we've made a mistake. So has legal had at least a chance to review and consider what I'm referring to? For an example, using the fairgrounds, I don't know, there might be other properties as well, but I just use that as one because it had been discussed some years back prior to, during some discussion about we ought to have the fairground down by Tenino.
So
that's the only reason I asked.
It's my understanding that there is only a small section of the fairground property that is subject to reverting to the family if the county doesn't use it as the fairgrounds. But in the 12 years I've been here, I can't recall a transaction like this coming up. I mean, we've certainly disposed of county-owned property, but this is the first time that I'm aware of, at least in the last decade, where we had a piece of property that had to revert to the prior owner or that owner's family if the county was not using it as stipulated.
If there's no discretion, there's no reason for a public process, because the public,
Yeah.
what's the public gonna say? Don't follow the law, don't break the contract and no, you can't have that. So I can't imagine, when we do a vacation of like Boston Harbor.
You have the option.
We have discretion.
Right.
So there has to be a process there.
So what I'm hearing, Commissioner Edwards, your proposal is to bring this item as a formal item for the board to consider taking an affirmative action to exercise the reversion clause of this property?
Well, that might have been where I was headed, but Robin kind of surprised me with saying there was just a small portion of that property at the fairgrounds.
That's right.
And I'm not aware that it's just a small property. And the other piece of that is, have we had legal actually review this so that we're okay? I mean, we have legal there for a reason. I oftentimes don't think we get the coverage we should get from legal, but that's my opinion. I just don't know why we wouldn't want legal to review and make sure, hey, everything's good here. And there aren't any extenuating circumstance or unusual circumstance. I just don't know. That's all I'm asking.
I agree that legal should review the contractual arrangement. As far as the fairgrounds goes, I know this because about 9 years ago, the commissioners at that time were considering moving the fairground to a different location. And we looked at selling the property where the fair is currently held, which is when we determined that only a small section of it would have to revert and the rest of it could be sold as a benefit to the county. But as is obvious, we didn't go through with that.
Well, even on that topic, I'd like to know that from legal, if that was the case for some time up front, because I know it was discussed within that 9-year period about moving the fair activities down near Tenino.
Elsewhere,
So,
right?
Maybe that's a different item.
It's a totally different item.
But related to this item, Commissioner, are you requesting to have a legal review of this action the board may need to take related to the reversion clause of this property?
well, I just think it's appropriate that we ask legal. I mean, I don't know how
That's fair. That's one question, and we can ask Craig to circle back with the Public Works Prosecuting Attorney to review the terms of this reversion clause. The next question that I have, and I believe your proposal was to bring a formal AIS for the board to consider. A formal action at 2 in the afternoon. I mean, with concurrence of the board, we can bring that item that really is in this case will be mainly procedural since it's a reversion clause. Is that what you were requesting, Commissioner Edwards?
Well, usually when we take a board action, we have an AIS in front of us that covers what we're doing, so the public knows what we're doing, and there's no question about what we're doing. I guess that is the way I look at AIS, is that so the public has no question about what's up. So I'm all about open government. I'm not being argumentative. I want to give this back if that's the right thing to do. I just want to be sure it's the right thing to do.
With the concurrence of the board, we can certainly prepare an AIS, and I'll work with Craig on the professional language if that is the pleasure of the board.
Okay, I'll say a couple comments. I guess my comments were, I found this, usually the things that come through the commissioners, vary, and I found this one really intriguing just because of how old it was. And my question is, this is one, just happened to be one of our surplus properties, are we gonna look through more of them and see if this is something that's happened in other occasions as well? Because I found this, just that language in that contract just surprised me. And
So I have recently made an assignment in central services and have staff working on a project to find all county-owned properties that do not belong to Public Works, determine how we acquired them and when, because it was a surprise to me that we own that property on the river. So we're trying to assess where all the county-owned property is, how it was acquired. We'll be looking for any clauses like this, and determining if there are any that the board could dispose of. So that's a project we're working on. It's going to take a little while to get there, but we are starting to put that together.
yeah, the 1905.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
maybe a quick follow-up on that. And this is, I don't know if it's the reason why I'm just trying to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. In that almost 120 years that have elapsed since the county made this arrangement with this family, there's probably been numerous deaths and inheritances and property passed on, and John got this piece and Bill got this piece, and whatever, many times over. There's going to be several generations of that property going through an estate situation, for an example. I'd just hate to have somebody come back and say, "Hey, I got left out there. That didn't help me out." That's all. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up. I just want to get it right without any liability on the county.
Hey, Craig, would there be something that you could look on that in the, I believe it's the chain of title on the property who may be benefiting from this item?
But other than that, I'm fully in support of it just because it is a contract, that the county did sign. So I guess after legal reviews it.
I can bring in an AIS. I think that was the request from Commissioner Roberts.
Commissioner Menser?
Don't care if it's an AIS. I would like this to be expedited. I was first contacted on April 4th, 2021, and I've been working through this for more than a year. I don't think this is a surplus situation. We don't own this property by contract. So absolutely happy to have the lawyer make sure we convey it to the right party, but we don't own this. So we don't have any discretion. We shouldn't be delaying in any way the execution of this, and it's already taken, it's not the board's fault, it might be my fault, but it's taken too long.
I see Jennifer showed up. Any additional perspective, Jennifer?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, Jennifer Walker, Public Works Director, I just wanted to comment to one of the concerns that Commissioner Edwards was raising with respect to heirs and if we're giving the property to the right family members. That is one of the primary reasons why we use a quitclaim deed. The benefit and the purpose of a quitclaim deed is just releasing whatever interest the county may have in that property. So that is why, it's not a statutory warranty deed. We're not guaranteeing anything as we're releasing the interest that the county has in that property. And then also Robin spoke a little bit to it, but this is a part of a larger property management program that Craig and his team are working on within Public Works, where we are identifying all of the parcels that are in the custody of Public Works, how we got them, why we have them, and then determining, are they integral to operations? Do we need to, so we're retaining them, or are we holding them for future development, or do we need to surplus and sell them? So the board will be seeing more of that program and properties to release and get them back into the tax roll over the next few years.
So if there's going to be a signing of a quitclaim deed, that does belong on an AIS. That's appropriate.
So we'll work on an AIS language, Craig. And we can probably bring this item next Tuesday if it's all possible.
Okay. So we'll be reviewing this item again next Tuesday. Thank you. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Next, we'll be moving into a closed session. This is you have one more item?
Not included, I'd just like to provide an update on a couple of items. Last week, Commissioner Menser asked the status of the CDBG projects that were funded in the Rochester area. There were two projects. One, it was to the Rochester School District, the Independence Park. The amount that it was assigned to this project was $125,000, and the other one was the Haas Field, and the amount of CDBG funding was $75,000. For the Rochester School District Independence Park, the project has been completed, and that came under budget. And the Haas Field, the scope of work, and the Independence Park was to build playground equipment. And I have some pictures for you that will be distributed. Nice project, it's completed, done. It served the intended purpose of the community development block grant. The Haas Field was the other project in which included fencing, also included reestablishing the turf on the field, as well as some security elements on the concession and storage area. And again, it was only $75,000. So we went out for a bid for the fencing, and that came back way higher than the $75,000. So we worked with the individuals involved, and they would like to utilize the money to do the field restoration. And that work will begin in April, and we'll expect to complete that in September 2022. The overall work on the field restoration will be beyond the $75,000 allocated. So we're moving $23,000 from the unspent money from the Independence Park to add to this project, so at least we'll be completing the field restoration again by September. Unfortunately, the installation of the fencing, the perimeter fencing, and the concession storage will not be accomplished based on the funding available. That's my report on that question. And I have another item to update the board. It is related to the 5 commissioner initiative. As you may recall, the board signed a joint resolution with the Port of Olympia Commission to go on a consolidated effort if the county reaches the 300,000 population this year. The resolution had a date of May 2nd as to when we will know. At that point, we were hoping to get from OFM the numbers of the county. We asked when they're going to plan to release the new numbers for the county. It will not be until the end of June. But it's a strong indication that we will be reaching the 300,000 at that time. So I was invited to the Port Commission meeting yesterday, a work session where this item was discussed. And my recommendation to you, to the Board of County Commissioners, to continue with the parallel process because there is a lot of items that needs to be occurring, resolutions, body language that you may consider. So we don't wait until the end of June to begin the process. I think beginning the process at this time, joining with the Port of Olympia staff, I think is a prudent approach. That's what my report was to the Port of Olympia Commission, that we bring this proposal to you as an update. I also provide an update at this point. That's the indication that I have. The new population numbers will not be until the end of June of this year. But again, I will be working with Elizabeth when she's on time, and here in the Zoom, as well as with the legal counsel from the Port of Olympia, as well as Sam Governey, the executive director, to begin the process. And when and if we get, at least we have the wheel moving on that process. But if for any reason the county doesn't reach the 300,000 by the end of June, then the Port of Olympia will go on their own at that time. But that's my report to you on that. Any questions?
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I think that's good enough. Thanks.
Questions, Commissioner Munson?
I support whatever parallel preparations are needed to get it on the November ballot. So
And the filing for the November ballot will be August 2nd, and we're going to start backtracking all those steps that we need to take for the board to consider that option. And now after the board and the Port of Olympia puts officially on the ballot, or the November ballot in front of the voters, then we'll begin the redistricting process. And as stated in the resolution, there is a team outlined on that, which is the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, the county auditor, as well as the chair of the Port of Olympia. They obviously would staff support to begin the process of the redistricting. In the event the borders will approve this initiative in November, then we'll be in a good position for the board to take an action in approving those boundaries, because we need to submit those boundaries by January 2023. One last thing, I am exploring with Elizabeth as well as the legal counsel from the Port of Olympia to see if there's a possibility to have a single ballot measure that will change the boundaries for both the county commissioners as well as the Port of Olympia. That is the objective. Mechanically, I don't know if we can get there, but that's a question that we're going to be exploring.
The port supports that approach?
Yeah.
So my concern is the tight turnaround. And these are conversations I've had with the auditor of basically drawing up the map and having that deadline in January and the short around time for that. So I'm not sure if we can have further discussions with the auditor and how that would look like, because I know when I told her it was on the November ballot, she was thinking it was going to be on the August ballot. She was very concerned about that timeline. So
You could certainly work ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the plan, is to work a parallel process to move ahead with that process.
Yeah.
As soon as the official is on the ballot up to November 2nd, we'll continue to develop that process. I did state to the Port Commissioners yesterday that another instrument will be necessary for them to compensate for any additional staff the county may have, geodata, because and so they are aware that perhaps financially need to contribute to this effort as well.
Okay.
But your own point, so we're trying to have a parallel process on that. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Edwards, you unmuted yourself? Oh, I was wondering if you had any comments or questions, sir.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, so with that, it is 11:35. We'll go into closed session for RCW 42.30140, subsection 4A, collective bargaining sessions, or B, that portion of a meeting during which the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, road deputies and corrections unions contracts. Commissioners' action may follow. How long are we going to be in here for?
We're probably going to be here for 20 minutes, you think? Oh, take it until 25 minutes.
Okay, so we'll be here until noon for 25 minutes. So with that,
Let me announce that outside. Please.